now by telephone is Richard Saslaw. He is a member of the Virginia Senate. He's a Democrat from Fairfax County and the minority leader of the chamber. Thank you so much for joining us, Richard Saslaw.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Did they take away your seat? This is Tom Sherwood. Did they take away your seat?
No, they've changed it some, but they haven't taken it away, no.
Earlier this week, you compared the redistricting vote to the sneak attack on Pearl Harbor. What sense did you have for whether this was coming, if at all, and what conversations did you have with your Republican colleagues about redistricting earlier this session?
We had no comments from them. We were told by a couple of their people that they would give us plenty of advance notice, and, of course, that never occurred. Right. And they sprung this on us all together at once. Didn't consult anybody. When we redistricted the Senate in 2011, I got input from every one of them. In fact, virtually all but a handful were satisfied with their districts.
How do you feel Governor McDonald's going to handle this? He's a Republican.
Well, if it went to him, my guess would be he'd sign it.
And if he signs it, what consequences would that have?
Well, I think it's going to upset the apple cart here considerably.
Yeah. Is there any legal recourse, or is this the legislature?
Oh, no, there's a legal recourse. The Virginia Constitution says that we'll redistrict ourselves in 2011 and every 10 years thereafter.
So this would be out of the box.
This would be subject to a constitutional challenge if that were to happen.
Is this a statement on the political status in Richmond between Republicans and Democrats, similar to the Congress and here in Washington?
It's moving in the direction of D.C.
What concerns did you have at all about Henry March's absence before Monday?
Well, I would have figured that they would be true to their word and give us advance notice, and then we would have told Henry to stay here, which he would have done.
Yeah, but you weren't. What's the tone going to be like for the rest of the session, particularly if the governor signs this bill? Do you expect the Democrats in either chamber?
It's going to upset a lot of things: transportation, education, and the budget.
Well, transportation is for any number of governors who've had their one term as governor has been transportation. And it seemed to me, whether you like the governor's plan or not, the $3 billion plan, getting rid of the sales tax, of the gasoline tax, slight increase in...
That's a big mistake.
Well, whether the details of it, but the idea to... At least you would have something to discuss if you're not in the back room fighting each other over what they've done to you in terms of redistricting.
Well, that may be, but they need our cooperation in order to get anything through.
Senator Saslaw, what has what you characterize as a sneak attack, done to relations? Here in Washington, as you said, they're moving towards being like Washington, but here in Washington, we bemoan all this partisanship that's taking place. In the wake of Monday, what have relations been like between you and your Republican colleagues in the Senate?
It's been pretty chilly. And like I said, they're moving in the direction of D.C., and in fact, you're seeing this all across the country, and the fact that they also want to change the way electoral votes are distributed now that they can't win Virginia. All the years they were winning, they didn't offer to put in any bills to distribute votes on the basis of congressional districts. And what they're saying is that urban votes count less than rural votes.
Well, are all the seats up in the legislature this fall?
Just the House.
Just the House, 100-member House.
Right.
And then, of course, the governor's race.
And the statewide races.
Statewide.
Yeah.
For those who've had trouble...
Vote. You can't make rural votes count more than urban votes.
That's former District Mayor Anthony Williams piping in.
That's the...
Baker versus Carr, right?
If you do it on the basis of congressional districts.
Okay.
I'll just give you an example. Had that been in effect during this election, Romney would have been president. In Virginia, he would have carried 9 electoral votes instead of 0 because he won 7 of the 11 congressional districts. And under the bill, whoever wins the most congressional districts gets the 2 extra electors that are, I guess, for the senators.
Do you think we should just go to a popular vote for president?
I would support that.
For those who've had trouble following this process, Senator Saslaw, you reminded us that lawmakers took on redistricting 2 years ago in Richmond. The governor vetoed those plans. What would those maps have looked like?
He vetoed the first bill and that we sent him, and he signed the second one.
Okay. How would those maps... let me get to another question. Any sense yet for what this will all mean for the candidates
who are
angling to be governor this year?
It gutted most of the Democratic districts and made about 7 or 8 of them substantially more Republican and pretty difficult to win. It would give them a shot at picking up 5 or 6 seats in the next election.
Would it mean anything for the candidacy for governor of Terry McAuliffe?
It doesn't affect that race.
Doesn't affect that race at all.
But there are other states, Republican-leaning states, that are looking at this very same thing to switch to this congressional district thing.
My understanding
is like a half dozen or more of them.
Yeah.
So,
that may not pass here because there are some Republicans who are opposed to change. My understanding is they're opposed to changing it.
So even if the governor signs on to this, you're saying...
No, I'm talking about... We're switching gears.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm talking about...
We're trying to confuse you.
Distribution of electoral votes.
Okay, well, I was just going to ask, if the governor signs on to the redistricting measure that comes out of the Senate, is that likely to be challenged in court? You say...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the next step? Where are we? Is anything going to happen immediately, or what happens next? Has to pass the House?
Well, the Speaker of the House is holding it.
Well, we'll see what happens. Richard Saslaw,
Right.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
Senator Richard Saslaw, he's a member of the Virginia Senate. He's a Democrat from Fairfax County and the minority leader.
You know, he's gotten...